Okay.
Hello. Welcome to Get on the Pony.
Episode 7.
We really should check that, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Time to get on the pony. We've got Joanne Doyle joining us. We're going to bring Joe, who's just joined us as well. So we're going to bring Joe. We've got Joe Doyle joining us today. The interview will do its own talking. I don't need to give this...
No, let's just give a bit, honestly, a bit of an introduction. So, Joe is multiple medalist, former champion, European champion at IMAS. She's Cage Warriors Academy South East Bantamweight champion. She's BJJ Purple Belt, Team England female head coach, and coach at SPG Bradford.
That was way better than what I did.
So, shall I do it then?
Yeah.
I noticed you weren't moving, so I figured I'd better do it.
Can only apologise that we have.
Yeah, it's all you.
So just Yo!
Hi!
Now then, let's just turn the volume up.
Yep.
I don't know how this has happened, but you're quiet.
Oh, really?
No, not anymore.
That's better.
So, thanks for joining us, Joe. It's now been 3 months since our last...
We're into the third month of lockdown.
Yeah, so...
3 months of you not beating me up.
I don't know if we should be putting that out there on the internet. It feels like a really bad interview. Let's just stop it now. Let's talk more about James. So what's it like being married to such a sexy guy? Right, this is about Joe today.
Yes. That's the problem.
So how are you? How are you finding lockdown?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Like you say, we've been in 10 weeks, and it is tough. Like for me, it's tough not working. I've never not worked, so after leaving the police in December and going self-employed, it's obviously that were a big thing for me to start building my business and client base, and then for the momentum to stop, it's been quite tricky to adjust not to working, but. You've just got to get through it and get through it the best you can and however people can. I think, there's a lot out there saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, but I just think just get through it. It's a tough time, isn't it?
Yeah, totally agree. I think you've just got to be kind to yourself and just think, right, what do I want to do? If you want to train, train. If you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, are you going to get some training in, or what's your sort of thoughts?
Yeah, to be fair, I've been really hit and miss. Like, I've had really good days where I've got up and thought, right, I'm going for a run, I'm going to come back and do some, body weight exercises and things like that. And then I've had days where I've just I can't be bothered. I really can't be bothered. So we've just we did some pads this morning, some boxing pads, which I think we're now going to make, because James obviously is recovering really well with his knee. It's good for me to practice padding him and also to get my work in hitting pads. So we're doing that at the minute. But yeah, sometimes I'm not doing much, and he's like, "Oh, clean house," and that's like I've done something good for the day. For the 5th time in the week. But yeah, just getting through bits and bats of training, and just that's it really. Diet's not been great though.
Oh well, we shouldn't really talk about diets. We attempted this detox thing last week, and it was not a great idea at all.
It was ridiculous. It was just such a silly idea. I mean, no one's having any fun anyway.
No.
Let's increase the misery by just having juice.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I've started fasting again, so that will help. I know that, because I was doing really well prior to the lockdown, with my diet, and I'd started upping my training and dieting. So yeah, I'm back to fasting, but that's about it.
So one thing that we wanted to talk about for you was, so how did you get into martial arts then?
So I know James touched on how we met and stuff. So we met back in 2010, and he was active fighter back then. So he was training, I was sat at home drinking wine. Didn't really understand when he'd come home from a hard training session. Now I'm there with a pizza and wine, didn't really get it. But then as I started to go to shows and see the lads at Flinkerzan competing, because I used to try and come and support as much as I could around my work. So watching the lads and seeing them weight cutting and things like that, got into it, and then I can't remember how many years me and you used to sit at the reception and just discuss about us training and stuff. And like, oh, I really want to do it. I really want to do it, but we were a bit nervy to do it.
Yeah.
So then I think it was 2013, 2014, you did the women's.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't remember when it were.
Yeah, it was back. Well, I always say, people ask me this question on interviews, and I always go, oh, well, my head coach did a women's camp, and then after that, well, I never actually did the women's camp because I were in Australia, so I never did it. It was just when we came back from Australia, there were women on the mat, so yourself and a few other girls, so it was great that we finally had like a good group of girls that we could train with. So that was back, I think I started more in the January 2014 and really focused on more grappling. That's what I seem to just really fall into more than the striking.
Yeah, I totally forgot that. I forgot you went to Australia because you thought about moving over there, didn't you? You did,
yeah.
No, James did some training over there, but yeah.
I wasn't training at that point because they said like, oh, get on the mat, and I was like, oh, no, I'm not. You know, I'd not even put on a gi, so he did, some gi over there. But yeah, I wasn't training back then. But when I came back, obviously we got straight on the mat, and it's gone from there.
Yeah, I think the turnaround time from kind of you doing the first few classes and then having your first competition at an interclub, what was that? I can't remember.
And grappling you went into that quite. I can't remember if it quickly or not, but you did a few, didn't you? Quite a lot.
I did. I did a Grapple Nation really quickly, I think, and then I was in the police wrestling team.
That's
I got roped in by Phil to do it. Like, found out I was training. Like, right, you've got to do this. I'm like, oh man. So I did them really too quickly. So won gold at both of them. That kind of got the really momentum for like competing. And then every few weeks I were at grappling competitions. And then we did the interclub. I think it was the November of 2015. I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think I did a full year of BJJ comps before I did my first interclub, and then as soon as I did the interclub and then I did the interclub in the January of 2016, and then fought that year then on shows. So it was quite quick. I think I'd done, but I can remember going into that interclub that was in Dewsbury and hardly have done any striking. I can remember doing it, and then the interclub was against Bomber. It was against Charlotte, and we're like, oh, she's a boxer. I was like, what? Oh my God. So yeah, but it was just MC, so it was no headshots, which was a massive relief. So now I've sparred with Bomber, definitely a massive relief. Fought Bomber at an interclub at MC level, and then I think that's what made me think, right, I really need to get my head into striking, but then got matched pretty quickly in May. So it was quite quick turnaround, really. So
would you have done anything differently? So that, you know, like you obviously kind of just threw yourself in there, you know, and got stuck in, even quite early into your training. Yeah. You know, everyone kind of approaches stuff slightly different. In hindsight, would you have done the same thing, or, you know, would you have done it differently?
Definitely with competition, I'm really glad that I just did as many as I could. I'm really glad about that. The only thing I might have done differently is force myself to do like interclubs as just striking. So like done some kickboxing bouts or something, because I think that would have helped my confidence in the early days. I think I really, like looking back at some earlier fights, I really were hesitant. And like even now I will always say I'm a grappler, you know. If anyone asks me my fighting style, I'm definitely a grappler. But yeah, I think I would have maybe done a few interclubs and done like kickboxing bouts just to kind of test that out. But other than that, like I feel that a lot of fighting is about the nerves and about like the mental game. So I think having going to grappling comps nearly every week, I think that helps massively.
Do you? How do you feel watching your fights and your grapples back? Is that an easy thing to do, or is that hard?
I think early fights, I wish I'd like pulled the trigger a little bit more, because I think there was finishes there, like in early fights, and I think as well, like I've always said with women, I think you do get a lot of going the 3 rounds, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's good to get that cage time in there, especially amateur. But I think I am a finisher when it comes to like, I'd like to see myself as like quite an aggressive grappler when I am training and fighting. So I think I could have pulled the trigger a little bit in early fights, but I don't mind watching my fights back. I'll critique them and like, oh, why did I do that? Or, you know, things like that. There's not many of my fights. I think for any fighter to watch fight back and they'll never say it's a perfect performance.
Yeah.
I think we're quite bad at like taking compliments and actually saying we've done something well. Like I think probably my best performance, even though I know there's one point I hate about it, is my last fight. So I think that's the one that I can really think, no, actually I went out there and I did what I had to do and got the finish.
Mm. Is there a fight that sticks out in your mind where, because we talked a little bit about nerves and how you need to be mentally, is there one that kind of sticks out in your mind as like, I had it bang on there, or I was where I wanted to be?
My first fight is where I remember we've spoke about it. I wasn't nervous. I literally went back thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I think because I'd just got to that point where I'd finally got a fight. I was so excited, and I just thought, I just went in there and had no nerves. And afterwards, I was like, oh my God, that's quite a big thing what I've just done to debut.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any nerves then. I think the nerves have grown more with like getting pressure of having had quite a few fights, especially as a female. A lot of girls go pro after maybe 5 or 6 fights, and obviously a big thing for me is pushing women to not do that, to get more fights. There is fights out there, it's just you've got to go and find them. So I think my nerves have come a little bit more later on, just feeling a bit more pressure. But yeah, in the early days, I was like, yeah, fine, I'll just get in there. Like, looking back at the Europeans, I think, oh my God, why were I not terrified? But I was like, oh, it's just experience.
I remember that because I was wrapping your hands, and I think that's the most relaxed I've ever seen a fighter whilst wrapping the hands, because you were just like, yeah, I'm just going to give it a go, see what I think.
And I think that's it. I didn't take it to, I think the good thing was there was quite a lot of hype behind her, so I was like, yeah, well, everyone's going to lose anyway. I'm in her backyard. Oh well, I'll just do my best.
Was that the fight down in Gloucester?
No, that was Battle Arena. I fought on first. In Birmingham, there was 3 of us that fought on that, and then the Gloucester was my one against Michelle. Like, she were a really good boxer.
So your first ever fight was the one where we had a breakdown on the M6, weren't it?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. So there was.
We had all the coaching teams stuck on the M6. All the fighters down there. James, who were having like a nervous breakdown, like, because it was my first fight, and then we were lucky because I can't think who else came. There were a few others that came, and we were like, right, we're gonna have to like go and source a bucket and some Vaseline and stuff. So yeah, we were lucky. We got there. We got there in the nick of time. So
just in time.
Yeah, we had a good day that day. It was 3 wins, weren't it? So
yeah, it was really good day.
All the craziness, we did come away with 3 wins. But yeah, so I mean, we've had quite a few funny little stories like that, haven't we? Where we just seem to be in all these really weird situations, and you know, like I think one of the things which sometimes is forced upon us because of the girls, when they're found drinking in a grappling competition.
Oh, yeah.
First bouts. So,
where was that?
Oh, was that Grapple Nation?
Grapple Nation. Your first ever one,
yeah,
wasn't it?
We put Prosecco with water bottles.
We used to go and we had water bottles and fill us water bottles up in changing room.
Savages. Absolute savages.
Well, very different.
But they were the days though that I could go and drink after a grapple comp and not put any weight on, so they were good days.
So what's been your biggest achievement to date then? What would you say is the one thing that's kind of really stuck out as like what you see as the pinnacle at the moment in your career?
There's a few really. Obviously winning the Europeans really early on in my fight career, that one massive for me. But I'd say the more in the last few years, the 2 things that stick out for me are last year, get my purple belt off you, and winning the belt, because I'd had a few title fights and like come just short, like in decisions, really close decisions. So for me to actually go out there and really put a stamp on that fight and win the belt was was really good, and obviously get it by submission just after I got my purple belt. So that was really, they're probably, last year was probably the pinnacle for me.
Yeah, it was a tough all fight as well, weren't it? It was one of those where, yeah, I think, you know, a good majority of your game was you were able to implement it, but there were a bit of a scary moment when you mounted her and she did that weird reversal.
I still don't know how she got that sweep. Like,
no, I've watched that so many times because, like, it was a bit of a breakdown, weren't it? We were looking at the Khabib kind of controlling to mount. Like, brilliant, I'm cornering him. Brilliant, like, how's she done that? How on earth has she done that? But, you know, you kept it cool.
Back and see, like, because I'd triangled the legs and then I'd gone to, I think, get really high on the mount to kind of push her down so that I could get her away from the cage. And just as I'm going to do that, she hip bumped off the back of the cage and got it over. And I can remember thinking, I have to finish now. Like, I've taken her down. I've got her where I wanted her. Got mount quite easily, really. And then I was like, right, I've got to finish. And I can remember, like, her posture wasn't great from the position, and she kind of tripoded a little bit, and it just, if I've got your arm, then I let go of that. There's no way I'm ever letting go of that.
No, it was good.
Yeah,
it was a good exchange as well. Really good exchange to keep cool like that, because you were dominating so much, and then to get reversed like that, I've seen people just break from weird situations where that shouldn't happen. You know, but you continued, and that was a really good fight. Yeah, I mean, for me, coaching you over the years, that's been one of my, you know, a real sort of pinnacle point in my coaching career life, whatever. Because there had been a few sort of fights that we've gone through and we prepared for, and someone had just nicked it, you know, just taken it slightly. There were never any real, what I thought were, you know, definitive kind of things that happened. I mean, even the Worlds against Julie, where she, you know, she just threw a spinning back fist and managed to catch. Frida, sorry.
Yeah, that were a bit of a frustration. I think, like, of my 4 losses, and this is why I say to girls for amateurs, like, my 4 losses have been at big things. 2 of them have been title fights, one in America, one here, and then the other 2 have been like in the final or semi-final at the IMAF. So they've been quite big fights. So I don't look back and think, oh, you know, I've lost that fight. I think, well, I was fighting the best at that point, you know. So I'm still proud of them performances. The one with Frida was frustrating because for whatever reason I decided I was going to stand, and it was one of them that I look back and think, yeah, I shouldn't have done it. I should have pushed the pace, because I knew that if I got hold of her, I trust my wrestling and I trust my my jiu-jitsu. And don't get me wrong, I know she's really strong in them. We've seen her at many IMAF competitions, and she's dominated with, like, cage work and groundwork and stuff. But I do feel like if I'd have got hold of her, it'd have been a different fight. And we'd seen the spinning thing, and it was one of them things in that fight when they say, oh, you just get clipped. I didn't see it coming, and she caught me. And I think the frustrating thing, I don't mind that's going to happen. But instead of going for, like, an up kick or a thing like that, I went for the sweep, and you see me grab the ankles, but the ref had decided it were done then. And I look back and a little bit frustrated. For me, it was in a final, so, like, people say,
it was such a quick stoppage.
It was a really quick stoppage, and that was what I was frustrated. Like, I want to be out. If you're going to stop me fighting in a final, I want to be out. However, I get that it's amateur, and I get it's at a big event, and they're all about the safety of the fighter and things like that. So I understand. But for me personally, if you're going to class it as a TKO, you've got to have knocked me out. Is how I see it. But
that's what I mean, Joe. Like, I don't feel it were a true loss. You know, like, watching it back and kind of reviewing it, I'm like, you know, the girl got lucky that it got stopped a little bit early, and you know, normally IMAF are quite good in the finals where, you know, they do let stuff go a little bit more because they give the person the opportunity to fight, because there's no competition from the day after.
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, like, it wasn't a true loss, because I'd like to see that go a little bit longer. But
that's it. I'd have liked to have seen it, you know, see what had happened. If you know, I might not have got the sweep, but then should have been in my guard. And it's like there's a lot of things that could have happened from there. And I think, you know, and it is good because when I have watched it back, and I've watched it back with the commentary, and it's Malcolm on the commentary, and he even says Joe's eyes are clear. I would have liked to see it go on, or something along them lines. He says Joe looks clear, she's frustrated at the stoppage, and I'm glad that other people picked up on that as well. And then my other losses, like I say, they've all gone 5 rounds or 3 rounds, and you know, it happens, and I've done good things in the fight, and I've made some mistakes in the fight, so it's one of them things. The judges sometimes are not going to see it your way, especially being a lot of them have been against like good strikers, or you know, I think sometimes grappling it doesn't always look as good than striking does in fights for judges, but you know, it is what it is. It's experience, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, amateur absolutely is. How's it? What's it like having James, your husband, the sexy one, in your corner? It must be distracting for you.
I was very.
Like
I'm going to play my losses on him, shouldn't I?
Thank you.
It's straight. I think we've got a good balance now. I think having you there as well, and I know it works well the other way when Marie's fighting. I think it's a nice balance, because I know James is nervous, and he does do well at hiding it, because I know the relief that I see after I've fought. I do think we've got a good balance now, and I think I'm so tuned into his voice and also your voice that it's just my coach. I think I have to take the fact that he's my husband out of it when it gets to fight day. You know, I'm not even going to say the day before, because weigh-ins, you know, I'm like, don't do this to me. But like when it gets to fight day, I'm quite tunnel vision, and it's like my coaches are there, and that's you two, and that's it really. So I think because he's been at, I mean, you've been at majority of my fights anyway, cornering me, but I've had James from day one, like, and even like I know with you two, you can train together at any point, so you kind of get used to the things calling as well, even more so. So it's cool now. I like it now. It's at first it was weird, and like that coach like fighter balance was hard, but I think we've got it pretty sound now. I'll still have strops in the gym, and I think I'll always have strops in the gym, but that's just how it is.
So in terms of your fighting career so far as well, you've had a lot of fights in short time, haven't you, as well? Because we were talking to James about sort of like the best fight camp and what he thinks is the best fight camp. You've kind of had to just make do with a lot of different situations. I mean, at one point, was it 7 fights in a year? How many?
Yeah, I did. So I started fighting in May 2016, and my last fight was April 2019. So in 2 years and 11 months, I've had 13 fights. So yeah,
crazy, isn't it? When you think about it,
it's a lot, and obviously with the IMAF tournaments, that's why I've had more. But a lot of the time, I probably could have had more, because there's plenty of times I've been in camp and then I've had pullouts. Like the amount of pullouts we've had is absolutely ridiculous. And like, other than, well, not all 3 of my fights on Cage Warrior Southeast have been short notice, but I've been prepping. So I think with the first 2 I was prepping, they were trying to match me for a bantamweight fight, and then I stepped in on a week's notice for featherweight on 2 occasions, and then the last one was the title fight, and that was 3 weeks notice. So I've just kind of always been on point. I think that's probably one thing that I'm struggling with now in lockdown. You've not got that consistency, that we get so used to that you go to the gym on an evening, like that's your life, you know. You're doing whatever you're doing through the day, if you're working or whatever you're doing, and then it's the gym on the evening, and you get used to the aches and the pains, and that's just part of your life. And I think that's probably the one thing that I've struggled with the most with lockdown, is routine. You know, I haven't got a massive routine at the minute. I'd come so accustomed to, I'm doing this, other than obviously little niggly injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's having that quick succession in fights and going straight into fight camp, I think really helped to get again with the nerves and used to fighting.
In terms of mindset, how did it affect you when the opponent changed? Was it something that had an impact, or it just like, at least I've still got to fight?
Yeah, that's it really. I think I was so grateful, like, to have fights back then, because in the early days, it was so hard for us to get a match up, and a lot of it were like, oh, I've seen this, and I'd message you or tell James, and get in touch with promoter and it were like, oh no, we've got someone else, or so there were so many times that I had to pull out, or the only ones that annoyed me were when it were like week before or a couple of weeks before and you've prepped, but we'd just have to look at a close show. But it also forced me into IMAFs, and I'm never gonna like begrudge that, because that experience were unbelievable for me.
And now you're coaching, you're female head coach for there. Yeah. So how did that come about for you, and what's that like?
So when I was competing in the last IMAS, which was the Europeans 2018, so the president of the UK team came over kind of just to see, and it was the first time I'd met him since I'd met Windy since it's starting. So he just asked my opinion, I think, after that. He's like, why are you the only person here? And obviously I'm quite opinionated, and told him exactly why I was the only woman there and representing. And don't get me wrong, we've had more than just one woman prior to that. Like there were me and Casey at the Worlds before, but I've never seen it more than two. So I obviously spoke to him, and I think he just saw how passionate I was about women's MMA and like the network that I've got, and I still don't think I've broke fully into that in the UK. But I think most people now, after seeing us go to championships, take the girls, come back with medals, I think that they've seen that my reasoning behind it is to just showcase what we can do. I think there's not as many opportunities for females in the UK, so it was just a good way of getting more people involved, and we have got the talent, and that was it. So he offered me the position pretty quickly after the Romania trip, so I accepted it then. But for me, it was a bit of the only thing that I ever thought is I didn't want it to affect my fighting, which it kind of has, but I'm not bothered about that. For me, it's all about progressing MMA for women in the UK. I'm not bothered that it's maybe lost me a few opponents in the UK or a few fights. I don't care about that. These are the future. These are the girls coming through, especially with the junior championships. So that's more important to me.
I think you're at a point now in your career where like more international fights and some different people probably make more sense anyway. Yeah. So like you've had to go quite far afield. So you went to Florida. You had a title fight over there. We've talked around going Sweden a few times. I'm in a few other places in Europe. So for me, I think it is a natural progression anyway, away from the UK scene into kind of more international stuff. Obviously, we're stuck at the moment with what we can do and where we can go.
We can't really leave the house at the minute.
Oh yeah, I know, it's so frustrating.
Can't get out of Bradford, but France or something. But yeah, so I think you definitely the time, effort, and commitment that you put into the girls' team for both the UK and England has been definitely been a big driver on how well the ladies' team have done. So yeah, that's really good.
How did you approach that when you set up the team for the first time? Did you have a clear vision in your mind of how you were going to do it, what you were going to do, or
not massively? I just started because when he offered me the job, we were in the airport on the way to Mexico. I think I spoke most of the time on an all-inclusive, messaging as many girls as I knew in the UK just to say, look, this is what I'm doing. I really want you to come to the next trials, and that's kind of how I started it. I think I just went out there and I follow MMA anyway, like for the women's scene. So I like to, as soon as I see a fight get announced, I like to find out the result, because I think it's just good to keep up to date with, who's up and coming and things like that. So, and also a lot of like promoters do get in touch with me now and say, oh, have you got any idea who would be a good matchup and stuff? So yeah, I've always kept on top of like women's MMA, and I think because it started by me looking for my own fights. So I just contacted girls, and we had a really good showing at the first trials, and then it's kind of snowballed from there. I think when we got some success in Bahrain, and girls had good fights, and I think also the positive feedback from the girls, even if they didn't get the result that they wanted, they had such a great time over there, in the experience of the IMAFs, that they told friends or training partners, and then we got more after that for the Europeans.
So was there any unexpected challenges with kind of getting so many female athletes together and getting them involved?
Dealing with girls. I'll never forget. it's probably really early on, like when I was doing just mainly BJJ, and chatting to Helen Curry, and she was like, yeah, it's so much different from coaching men and coaching women, because women always go, but why? Why am I doing that? So anything that I had, like, information-wise for, like, IMAF or anything like that, I was like, well, why am I doing that? But what do I need to do that for? And I was like, oh, I can just do it. But I was exactly the same when I did it. So, like, I think it was just dealing with, like, strong-minded women. You have to be strong-minded to do MMA. Like, it's still quite a male-dominant sport. So I knew that you were going to have, like, really strong, dominant females. So it was, like, just dealing with that. But that's cool. And I think we had a really good relationship with everyone, and a really good team. And everyone looked after each other. I think that was what the main thing that I took away from it. Everyone supported each other. We were at everyone's fights. We watched it, together. Obviously we were in the back, but the girls were there. You could hear them shouting and calling from the stands. So that were a great thing as well. So yeah, just dealing with women. That's the main thing.
Yeah, it were really nice actually. IMAF put the Izzy's fight up again, a final recently on Instagram, and I remember watching it and listening to it, and you could hear the girls like when they stopped it, and I was just like, yeah.
I know. It was so nice to watch that, because me and James had just cornered Millie, so we were sat waiting to get her medal, and then it turned out that Izzy's fight were on the cage right in front of us, so it was really nice because Millie had just won the gold, and me and Millie got to watch it together, so it was lovely. It was a really good moment, that.
Oh, that's really good. So I suppose at the moment there's not really a lot of plans going forward in terms of trials or anything like that. So we don't know where we stand, do we, in terms of what tournaments are going to happen or anything like that?
I can't see it being this year, just because it's planning into it, and I think they do a lot of back and forth to the country that it might be held at, and a lot of work goes into each championship. So I personally can't see it being this year. But yeah, I think for me as a coach, I would prefer, even if it isn't this year, that we have a team. I really want to push that once this is all done, even if it turns out to be December, so that people get back into their own gym. If that's September, October, I don't know when it's going to be, but they have a few months getting back with their own team, training. But I would like to do a session, not just with the girls. I think a trials or something, a team session. People who showed interest for the team should all get together, because I think that's what we need. I think we need that team, lots of training sessions together, because I think there's a lot of things that we want to implement for the Team England, but it's just hard at the minute with everything going on. So I think it'd be good to get everyone together before the end of the year, depending on if gyms are back open. But for me, definitely, I'll be arranging a session for the girls before end of year.
Oh, good. That's really good. Yeah, I think, no one knows. So, I mean, we don't even know when we can open the gym yet, so...
No.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of indication at the moment are we're kind of thinking September, October, aren't we?
Yeah.
Based on what's going on, but like I say, you never know what's going to happen. So.
No, it depends on that second wave, doesn't it? If that second wave happens, then we could be locked down for again, through winter. So, we'll see.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. I'm not going to put too much pressure on it. Sorry.
No, go on. You're right.
Yeah, just I think just see what happens with the championships, but I do think it'd be good to, because there was a lot more girls interested that had not done the IMAFs as well, that were interested in the last trial. So it'd just be good to get a good training session together, and even just to blow cobwebs off a little bit and get sparring in and get some rounds in.
That sounds good. So how do you compare sort of being a fighter and being a coach?
I think I'm more terrified of being a coach.
Oh, really?
I think now with fighting, it's kind of, I've got into my groove with it. So, I love both, and it was a big thing for me to leave my full-time job to start coaching. I think you have it as a bit of a security, but I just want happy, and I'd started doing bits of coaching. Obviously, I've been coaching the girls at championships, and then I thought, well, I am making an impact in the women's MMA, so hopefully I could make an impact at like beginner level, and just getting more people interested in the sport. And also, even if it's just fitness, like I've taken a lot away from training. I used to go to the gym and stuff prior to training, but I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't push myself probably. So it was just a kind of a way of like people getting confidence and people want to sometimes train with just a female. So I knew with the experience that I've grown over the years as a fighter that I could push females. But yeah, I think I'm more scared of coaching than I am training and fighting now. So I think it's a thing. Like, I think I'll always doubt myself, even though I've had plenty of fights. I think you just do. Well, I think as a woman, I think you just doubt yourself. But you know, I know what I'm doing, and I think I've just watching you and Mark, you and James, like, and how you coach and trying to pick up tips. And you know, I've had some great coaches, and I've travelled and trained and at other places and picked up tips from them. So I try to implement them into my classes and my PTs.
It's worth knowing though, you've coached guys as well. So, like, you know, what's been the difference between teaching females and males? You know, have you had to kind of do something different in the corner or the warm up or anything like that?
I do think women listen more. Like, I think when you with the lads, sometimes you catch them in class though, you'll be showing I don't know, showing like last class I did a head and arm choke, and then I'm walking around and they're doing leg locks. I'm like, what are we actually doing here? Like, come on now. So I think women listen more, and I think especially cornering, you can call something and they'll go for it. I think lads can just go a bit wild, but I suppose it's just, that's my only difference. And like I say, going back to what Helen told me years ago, women need to know why I'm doing it. Why will this work? And just breaking it down a little more. So in my classes, I definitely do that. For my Sunday class where it's females only, I break things right down, and then there's a progress. And also I do a lot of, in my class, I try to show in like a self-defense as well. So even if you're not interested in actually competing or fighting, so we'll look at, well, I'm doing this because in a real life situation, if you were to, you know, unfortunate enough to get attacked or anything, you could use this to help you to escape. So I like to break it down like for women in that sense. But yeah, lads just don't listen.
So have you got any particular highs and lows that stick out as a coach?
As a coach,
You've talked as a fighter, but have you got any that kind of stick out?
Highs was probably Rome for me. To have some great performances. You know, I'm not even talking about medals. We had some really, really great performances. And the team, you know, we just had a really good time in Rome, and I was really proud of the team, how they came together. It was different circumstances. I think we'd been a little bit spoilt with some of the other places to end up on a campsite, getting bit by mosquitoes and not really having like mats and things to train on. I found that was a really proud moment for me, that people really had great performances in Rome. So that's probably high. Lows were probably I don't know. For me, I know I'm kind of James, I got staff, for God's sake.
Didn't get staff, James.
No.
Always the pretty ones. Always the pretty ones.
We're probably like how emotional I am. Like, it's hard for me sometimes. I'm more nervous and I get more emotional for watching my girls fight. Like, it sounds silly, but like, I do take a lot of emotion, and it's something that I need to work on as well, because I get so frustrated when I think, maybe it's biased, but I've watched that many fights and I've seen the girls and how hard they put in, and then sometimes not getting the result, and I think they deserve the result, or that I think it's a bad decision. I'm very, very emotional, and I can't help that. But I'd like to think that's just, I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. But yeah, that's something I need to work on, being less emotional in corners or or after fights, or just generally just crying after fights if we don't get what we want.
Yeah. Our last trip out in November was quite challenging. It
was challenging in many ways. Like, I don't think we had the best start with the flight, and then it was like we had every first round was just horrendous fights. Like, we got bad picks, like, and I know that's why we go to the competitions, but it was ridiculous. You got the Asian Open champion, didn't you? And ridiculous because it's things like that with you have a ranking system. So they have, I think it's the 4 top ranking, and I think she was 6, but all 4 was there. So like it was like you got a tough fight to start with on day one. Some of the other girls got Megan got the Kazakhstan. You know, there was some just tough fights. And I think that sometimes like it's hard because not that you want the easy fights, but it's just it was just tough for all the girls. We had some tough results and bad decisions, I think, as well.
Yeah, and like you say, the journey getting out there was so hard. The fact that, you know, it started off so well, didn't it? All together in airport, we're absolutely brilliant. We're having such a great time, and then it's kind of we're all going back to a hotel, and then 3 of us are rushing back to get a plane, and
it was so stressful.
Yeah,
I think, like for me, like I've experienced Bahrain twice, once as an athlete and once as a coach, and I know how much time and effort and the federation put into the championship. And a big thing for me was these girls are coming to the World Championships for the first time, because obviously some had done the Europeans, but some hadn't done the Worlds. So, some hadn't done the Worlds. So for me, it was like not seeing the opening ceremony and things like that. And I would just, and seeing the draw, being there when you're getting drawn. We were sat on a plane, or I think we were sat in Dubai airport, and we found out who we were getting for the first round. So obviously on my mind as a coach was, you were day one, and I knew that I was going to be landing. I think we landed at 5, got to the airport, the hotel at 5 a.m. and you were like starting to get up for weigh-ins, and it was like, I wanted to be at my best as a coach as well. So it was just a bad start, I think, to that championship, but we still had a great time. It's just, you know, things like that happen, and that's why we go, because we're there as amateurs to push ourselves.
I still remember the morning I were getting up to go away, and I think you left a note, because we got these little breakfast vouchers, didn't we? And it was kind of like, oh, just stick it under our door. And I still remember trying to stick it under the door, and I couldn't get it under to save my life. I'm like, shit, I'm going to wake them up. And then James just opened the door. I'm like, I'm really sorry. So I just got
I think we just got up. I think we were just like, right, it's work time. So we just got up and just plowed through. I think we were shattered that first night. But it's always good fun. I enjoy them days.
Yeah, they're good tournaments. I do. You know, I feel like I got a lot out of them. I think it's just exciting. It's just something different, and I like how it's all set out. It's so professional, but I like the competitive element. For me, like, you know, events are good, but I'm not there to kind of going out into the crowd is not a massive thing for me. I prefer the competitive format where you've got 4 cages going on, you know, everyone's going in and fighting, you come out. I like that kind of thing, but yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great experience. I would recommend it for anyone to do some sort of tournament style prior to going pro. It's definitely worth it for experience.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've gone through a lot of questions. Sorry, I did write you quite a few questions here, so I'm just actually trying to make sure we've done them all. So, have you got a plan for you at the moment, or is it a case of you just waiting through lockdown and let's see what happens moving forward in terms of fighting, coaching, things like that?
For me, probably. Well, originally I was supposed to be fighting in March. And that was before lockdown, so that would have been ideal. But she didn't take the fight, so I didn't fight. But my plan was to get back active. I took a little bit of time off back end of last year to kind of just, because I'd had 13 fights in less than 3 years. I think I needed that bit of break. I was still training, but I just needed that bit of downtime to just do normal things and not always be dieting and I plan to 2020 to kind of kick off and really think, right, either because I've had a bit of a layoff, get maybe one more amateur or a couple more amateur in, and then look to go pro from there. So that was the plan. I think as soon as lockdown hit, I just kind of thought I'm just going to play it by ear and just try and get through this the best I can. And like I said, I don't put too much pressure on myself. Like I say, with trading and dieting, I've never really been like that, because I just think when I know I have to do it, I do it. So if it helps to eat a little bit naughtier to get through this, then I'm going to eat it, because I know I've made weight 13 times and multiple BJJ comps. I know I can do it, and that's across like 3 weight classes, so I know I can do it. So at the moment there isn't much of a plan. I would have liked to have got that fight in March, because I think I'd have felt better about lockdown if I'd have done that fight.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't meant to be, so it is what it is. Not bitter.
It's like a lot of life plans, isn't it, right now? Let's see what happens.
I know. I just miss travelling though. That's the only thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'd have had something booked by now. I think because last year I went on holiday, or I like went on training trips or coaching trips so much, and travelled loads last year, and I think I'm really missing that this year. So yeah, not having something planned.
Have you got a favourite place you've been to train or fight or coach?
So training, because we were discussing this after like James was on. For me, I really liked going to Health Grace in San Francisco. That was one of the best training sessions I've had.
Is that because they gave you alcohol?
Oh yeah, they gave me alcohol after. That was good. I've never drank whiskey in my life, but that one needed that. So yeah, because I can always remember we thought, oh, we'll walk there, it'll be fine. And Helen Smales had said to me, right, you really need to avoid this area. Just don't go in this area. Yeah, we walked straight through it to get to the gym. And like we were walking, and we're like, I think we're in the place that Helen told us not to be in. Like, we need to walk past. So we walked there, got there, and we were just welcomed. Like they treated us like we were members. The coach was great. Like the coach was one of the best. It was just fun. I think we got a bit of a beasting because there was us. There was a guy that was travelling from Boston, and then there was a couple of other people that had come from other gyms. So I think it was one of the toughest sessions I've ever done, because there were a few newbies on the mat. We got beasted a little bit, but it was a great session. And then afterwards, yeah, he gave us a shot of whiskey.
Can't imagine worse than a shot of whiskey.
Was that Kurt Osiander?
No, he wasn't there. He was travelling, so it was Frankie Nunez who would take over, Papa Frankie. So that's what they were calling him. So yeah, he was doing the session, and I can't remember the other coach, but he was the main coach. Yeah, because we'd gone and heard, because obviously Kurt was down there. So yeah, he was away, I think either with a fighter or doing his own seminars. So, but it were a great place, and still in touch with some of the lads that were on the mat and the coach. So that's pretty cool. So I'll definitely go back there. Where else? Always liked going to Vegas. You know, I was lucky enough, after hearing everything from yourself and from James about Coach Follis, we were really lucky on our honeymoon to train with Coach Follis. So that was nice, because I'd never met him, so I got to do a couple of sessions with him. So that was cool as well. Really happy about that.
You've rolled with Marcelo Garcia, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
That's so awesome. Imagine not mentioning that. It's driving me mental.
That was also on my honeymoon. I know. That was on my honeymoon, yeah. So I was I think I were a 2-stripe white belt. We'd gone on our honeymoon, and James like, I'd really like to do this class, and I was like, oh yeah, I've missed out previously because I've been like a little bit nervous. So we went down, and it was just, I think we did can't remember if we did a morning session first or after that, but we did one of the fighter sessions, and like the people on the mat, I was just like, oh my God, there were so many black belts. But it was really nice because I think we crossed with Marcelo on the stairs, and he was like, hi guys, and we're like, oh hi, like, oh my God. And he like fist bumped every single person. We just thought it might have been for like his team, but he fist bumped everyone as we were running around for the warm up. And then at the end of the session, I can't remember what he said. It wasn't they didn't call it like rolling.
Train, weren't
train, yeah. So
train.
James started rolling, and I were like really awkward on the mat, and it was a packed mat. So I thought, I'll just go and stand at the side. I went to stand, and he were like, oh, do you train? And I was like, yeah, I train. Like, okay, and slapped hands with him. I was like, oh my God. So we started rolling, and he just started like sweeping me for fun, because that's what he does. And what I found really nice about it, he kept putting me in certain like positions, I suppose, as coaches do, to see if I got out of it. And I can remember being like really chuffed if I knew what he was like calling for. So getting out a few things, and if I didn't, he just swept me. So and afterwards afterwards, I just like walked back to the edge of the mat, and James just looked at me like, I can't actually believe you've just rolled with Marcelo.
I can't believe you didn't mention it, and I had to mention it.
I know, yeah.
Honestly, so annoying.
The funny thing was, after I finished, there was, I think, a guy from maybe Brazil who was a blue belt, and he came up and tapped him on the shoulder and went, I go next. And I thought, oh, and I watched that roll, and he absolutely destroyed him. So I think I was like, because I didn't ask him to roll, I think you were all right with me.
He'll be getting that on a daily. He'll be getting people rocking up and just like trying to prove himself. It's it's always fun traveling and training at places where you don't really have an affiliation or anything. Can be quite savage. Did you get guillotined?
I don't think he did. I think you were quite nice to me. I mean, I probably could have tapped me about 100 times, but I was just like surviving, I think. I was just like, oh, just keep everything tight and just try to move a little bit.
So you back out crying every now and again?
yeah, a little whimper.
I would. That's what I do.
He was so nice. I think afterwards, I was like, I don't feel like I've been absolutely smashed, so he was really nice to me. Yeah, and because I did watch him afterwards, and he absolutely destroyed that kid, so and I could see what he was doing.
So is it time for quickfire questions?
Oh no, yes. I'm rubbish at these.
What we do, one each.
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, who's your favourite superhero?
Oh. Don't even watch any superheroes.
Okay, is there anyone you like? We'll go with like. Is there anyone you like? Can't be James. All right, okay.
Who do you admire the most? This is quite a hard one, I think.
But it's quickfire, Joe.
Who do you look up to? Who would you think of like?
As she froze. Is that right? Have we still got an internet connection?
Who do I look up to? I'm probably going to say the same as James is going to say my mum.
Oh, that's nice.
If a movie was made of your life,
what
genre will it be? And who would play you? So what genre would it be and who would play you?
Who would play
Quickfire, Joe, quickfire.
Don't put pressure on her.
Probably be a comedy of me just being a gobshite. And Drew Barrymore.
Ah, good choice. Armbar or RNC?
Armbar.
Where's the worst place you visited to train or fight?
Prague. Even though it's probably most success I've had at an IMAF, Prague. Like hostel.
Oh, is that why, really?
Oh my god. The hotel was nice, but we went for a walk and I was like, yeah, I feel like something's going to happen to both of us here, so we need to go back. That was quite scary. The arena and everything were nice, but scary.
You can't go walking around places like that with James. He'll get... How much? How much for a pretty guy? How much?
I'm considering that in Bradford at the moment if lockdown carries on.
Okay, so we're reaching the hour mark now, but there's a couple of things we need to get out in the open.
Oh, no.
Why is it you can't travel anywhere without any problems? And we've experienced this firsthand. Explain.
James, I went to California for a month. No problems. I had the quickest transfer in Orlando. I think I had like 40 minutes to get to my next plane. I was there eating snacks, getting on my plane, no delays, fine. So my thing is, it's James now. We've pinpointed it. I literally don't know why.
Was Bahrain the worst, or has there been other situations where you've gone away with James and it's been worse?
There has been worse, hasn't there?
I think
just LA. LA was same 26 hours again. So
ridiculous.
But the worst thing was, we got to the airport and there was a group of us I think James even said this story, there were a group of us just like why is it not even on the board? Like, why? And then we all started to huddle around the information desk, and the guy just came out and just turned closed on the sign. I was like, brilliant. So this is why I have good experience. So I started tweeting him, going, are we in the right departure lounge? And they were like, well, no, actually you're not, but your flight is cancelled. Huh, brilliant. Yeah. So we got to the desk after having, I think it was like 3 or 4 hours later of being in the airport, got to the desk, and they give us like a voucher, and they said that we were
she's back.
Staying in the I'm back, sorry, I think my battery's been so we were staying in the hotel on the site, and I was just like, if I've got another day in California, I am not. So I think I rang the Airbnb, the host of the Airbnb that we'd been staying at. I'm like, can we come back? So she was just like, yeah, I'll send you a PayPal. And I just paid her, and we went back to the place we'd been staying. We were on Venice Beach within an hour.
That's madness. But it's just consistent.
Any travelling trip, something happens. Yeah. It's ridiculous. If it's not as luggage getting lost, we've had that a few times. What else have happened? Yeah, just missing flights. We've always delayed. Always. Even if it's like an hour, we're always delayed.
It must have given you some good skills, though.
You what, sorry?
I was just saying, it must have given you some good skills for those kinds of situations. Because I've got to say, in Bahrain, you were brilliant. You were just like, I'm on it.
My best performance, you missed this, when we got to airport and we were queuing up, and they were like, oh, we can't guarantee where you're going to be sat, if you're going to have the same seats and blah, blah. So I was like, well, I know that the Spencer seats are free. I know theirs are free. So I just ended up getting all the passports off the girls. I was like, right, I'm going to customer service, and I just kicked off alarmingly and played the same card that you played, that they were all weight cutting and they were my responsibility, and if anyone dies, it's my fault. So I was like,
they were my fault. I said it's your fault. You're not getting my athletes over at Bahrain or at Emirates. You better do, otherwise you're gonna have people collapsing. I know. Do you want people collapsing? Put us in a nice hotel.
I know. So yeah, I used that trick, and we got I think 8 seats for the 6 of us, and we had like front rows of like the blocks, so we had decent seats. No problems.
So what we've learned from this, that Jo's mouthy, you can't travel with her. She's no respect for grappling legends. She drinks a lot, especially after competitions.
I drank for a week. That's very good in lockdown.
That's what abuse will do for you. It'll teach you a very valuable lesson. Right, I think we're getting to. Oh no, we've frozen.
Oh, we have, yeah.
Can you still hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you see us?
Marie's currently got a hand on her head. That's funny. Oh God! I hope I got it yet like this.
No.
Oh no, you're gone again. I can't hear you.
Okay, well, we're just about to hit that. Let's go on. Sorry, Joe.
We better end this before we get cut off. We've got 1 minute 55 remaining before we get cut off now.
So what do you want to admit? What scandals do you want to admit to, Joe? Tell us.
Scandals. I'm too boring.
That's
other than getting you two in trouble all the time. That's like
all the time. You've admitted it. You've admitted it.
I'll admit it. I love it, me. I think it's brilliant.
Record it. Someone write this down. Bloody Doyles.
We could start a scrap. Especially the best one's got to be Vegas for me. Like James did mention that. Marie can vouch for me. It wasn't actually my fault when me and Marie went to the bar, and some lad hit my ass so hard that I would nearly lamped him straight, like as a reaction, and then getting the nervous giggles. Me and Marie got the drinks, and we came back to the table and we're like, like really giggling because we were like, "Don't tell James and Spen, don't tell James and Spen," and you had your little man bag on, your little sport.
Yeah, I'd take someone out with that. You can laugh all you want.
That would
job you don't told us after they went. Otherwise, we've been whipping folk.
You death stared him out of that pub, I think.
I honestly thought we were going to. That was the one time of the many times you get. We make friends when we're not with you guys. We make friends. That was one time I thought we were going to probably kick off. So
yeah.
Anyway,
it wasn't actually my
joining us,
fault.
Joe. I'm not listening. We've got 30 seconds.
Thank you
Time
for
to
having
get off
me.
the pony. Thank you for
Mr.
joining.
Spencer's.
Hang on, cut her off and then we can do the last 20 seconds without her. Doyle's, it's Doyle's. Cheers, Joe. Hopefully we get to catch up properly soon.
Yes,
and,
thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.